जय गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रजजन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रजजन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय रात माधव कुंज विहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रजजन रंजन यशोदानंदन व्रजजन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज विहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा शील प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा शील प्रभुपदा एवं विष्णुपाद वर्धमान से सदस्य श्रीमती वेदांत स्वामी शील प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन संस्थापक शील प्रभुपाद की जय। एवं विष्णुपाद वर्धमान से सदस्य श्रीमती भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। एवं विष्णुपाद लखवत किशोरदास भगवत महाराज की जय। एवं विष्णुपाद सच्चिदानंद शील भक्ति ठाकुर की जय। एवं विष्णुपाद वैष्णव साधु श्री जगन्नाथ दास भगवत महाराज की जय। जय श्री रूप सनातन भक्त रघुनाथ श्री जी भगवत दास भट्टनाथ गोस्वामी प्रभु की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से गो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण को गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। श्री श्री गौरांग बैंगलोर ईश्वर भगवान की जय। श्री मायापुर धाम की जय। श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। कंकमाई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। अनंतपुरी वैष्णव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। ग्रंथार श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। इस्कॉन वर्तमान गुरुवंद की जय। समाज भक्तवृंद की जय। गौरव प्रेमानंदे। All glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to the assembly. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam. Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudire. Nashtaprayeshu Apatreshu Dityam Bhagavadasya Bhaya. Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishti. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Friday morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are discussing from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 7, Text 30. Bhrguruvacha Yanmayaya Gahana Yapahritatma Bodha Brahma Dayastanubhritastamasi Swapantaha Natman Shritam Tava Vidanti Adunapi Tattvam Soyam Prasidatu Bhavan Pranatatma Bandhuhu Bhruguruvacha Yanmayaya Gahanaya Pahritatma Bodha Brahma Dayastanubhritas Tamasisva Pantaha Natman Shritam Tava Vidanti Adunapi Tattvam Soyam Prasidatu Bhavan Pranatatma Bandhuhu Bhruguruvacha Yanmayaya Gahanaya Pahritatma Bodha Brahma Dayastanubhritas Tamasisvapantaha Natmam Sritam Tava Vidanti Adunapi Tattvam Soyam Prasidatu Bhavan Pranatatma Bandhuhu. Translation Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Bhrigu said, My dear Lord, all living entities beginning from the highest, namely Lord Brahma, down to the ordinary ant are under the influence of the insurmountable spell of illusory energy, and thus they are ignorant of their constitutional position. Everyone believes in the concept of the body, and all are thus submerged in the darkness of illusion. They are actually unable to understand how you live in every living entity as the super soul, nor can they understand your absolute position. But you are the eternal friend and protector of all surrendered souls. Therefore, please be kind towards us and forgive all our offenses. Bhrigu Muni was conscious of the scandalous behavior exhibited by each and every one of them, including Brahma and Lord Shiva, in the sacrificial ceremony of Daksha. By mentioning Brahma, the chief of all living entities within this material world, he wanted to state that everyone, including also Brahma and Lord Shiva, is under the concept of the body and under the spell of material energy, all but Vishnu. That is the version of Bhrigu. As long as one is under the concept of the body as self, it is very difficult to understand the super soul or the supreme personality of Godhead. Conscious that he was not greater than Brahma, Bhrigu included himself in the list of offenders. Ignorant personalities or conditioned souls have no choice but to accept their precarious condition under material nature. The only remedy is to surrender to Vishnu and always pray to be excused. One should depend only on the costless mercy of the Lord for deliverance and not even slightly on one's own strength. That is the perfect position of a Krishna conscious person. The Lord is everyone's friend, but he is especially friendly to the surrendered soul. The simple process, therefore, is that a conditioned soul should remain surrendered to the Lord, and the Lord will give him all protection to keep him out of the clutches of material contamination. Om Akyanati Mirandarsya, Jnananjana Shalakaya, Chakshur Militam Vena, Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha, Sri Chaitanya Mano Krishtam, Tapitam Ena Bhutale, Swayam Rupakada Mahyam, Dadati Swapadantikam, Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Udapadakamalam, Sri Gurun Vaishnavamsya, Sri Rupam Sakarjatam, Sagana Rigunatanvitam, Tamsajivam, Satvaitam, Savadutam, Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakandhitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandho Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostade Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishvanuste Devi Pranamami Haripriye Panchakripatarubhyasya Kripasindhubhye Vacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Muham Karo Devachalam, Pankam Dange, Viviram Yatubadam Ham, Shivarandratan, Paramandamadam, Shri Chaitanya Vishra. Hare Krishna. So here we see in these verses how Lord Brahma, the demigods, and all the sages are offering prayers to the Lord, asking for forgiveness for the offenses that they have committed unto Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is a great Vaishnava. The Lord can tolerate offenses committed unto him, but the Lord does not tolerate an offense committed unto a devotee of the Lord like Lord Shiva, who is in a very exalted position. So here in this sloka, Bhrigu says, my dear Lord, all living entities beginning from the highest, namely Lord Brahma, down to the ordinary ant, are under the influence of the insurmountable spell of illusory energy, and thus they are ignorant of their constitutional position. So every living entity in this material world are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and their constitutional position, being a part and parcel of the Lord, is to be a servitor to the Lord. And that is the position right from Brahma to Bhrigu to everybody. So, but what happens is that everyone believes in the concept of body. They don't have the understanding of the spirit soul, which is the cause of this body's functioning also. So they are all submerged in the darkness of illusion. That is what is called Maya. Those who are situated on this bodily platform, they generally tend to perform activities, generally also on the bodily platform, which is a cause of disturbance not only to themselves in their spiritual path, but also a disturbance to the others in the society. And this incidence of Brahma and the demigods offending Lord Shiva, followers of Lord Shiva, Shiva creating a demon like Virabhadra. So all these activities are based on material body. Material body is not permanent, as you all know. It starts from birth, then growth, then maturity, and so forth to dwindling, and finally it meets with death. So this is how the material body is, and whoever takes birth and has to die also one day, and whoever dies also has to take birth again. So Krishna gives all the rebellious living entities like us a reflection of what is actually existing in the spiritual world, and that reflection is what is there in this material world, to lord it over as a karmi. Karmis want to perform activities by which they want to see themselves as the Lord, as the all in all, and that they are Lord of everything that they see or that they live in. So it is said that one should not even aspire for activities either in this material world or heavenly or even hellish planets, because even a small desire that we have in our life is a cause for bondage in this material world. And one cannot actually even remain in one platform, even if it is goodness or passion or ignorance. It's very difficult to go up. Rather, it is very easy to come down. So, even if somebody is in a mode of goodness, as you all know, the material world is comprised of the three modes of material nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. So even if somebody is in the mode of goodness, what happens is that two symptoms that follow are, one is complacency, and the other thing is happiness. So complacency is an attitude where one thinks that I have everything what I want, so why more? Why should I seek for God? So that activity of complacency brings one to laziness, and when one becomes lazy, then he starts degrading from mode of goodness to passion, and passion to ignorance, and so forth. Other thing is happiness. He thinks that I'm happy, so I don't need anything. I have everything that I have. I don't have any distress in my life. So this is the situation generally for those in the mode of goodness. And then they also fall down to mode of passion and ignorance. That is why it is said that one should be very careful, even if he is in the mode of goodness. Another important point in this material world is that nothing is certain and nothing is this. Destiny is there, but what happens is that people plan out a lot of activities. For example, somebody might think that a general tendency today, of course, there's a glut all over the world in terms of economy, but otherwise the tendency was that I should somehow become an IT information technology engineer, go abroad and stay there in the US and so forth. But that is not the end of all, because there are many who have gone to US and they are struggling there also. Many here also struggling to get jobs. Sometimes they may take jobs that may are not related to what they have studied in their life. So there is a mismatch. So whatever we plan does not necessarily happen in this material world. The point is that ultimately this body is meant, or rather given to us, to understand that we are not the owner of all in all, and there's nothing we can plan. Of course, certain amount of planning may be required, but that's not all in all. And people who think that they should make a lot of money and make happy need not even live through that life to enjoy that money that they think they will get and become happy. These are generally things that we see that. So we are like a fish in a shallow water here. A fish, when it's there in the water, does not know that water is going to dry sometime or the other. And then similarly, we think that we are swimming in a very deep water, but unfortunately that also is drying up day by day. And one day the body might collapse, leaving us with unfulfilled dreams, which may have to go through again in the next life, because we have the desire to fulfill. Sometimes people think that I must become very famous. That does not necessarily happen also. And one who becomes famous, see, for example, actors, if they might perform in some films, they may become popular. But then what happens is that popularity doesn't last for a very long time. So those who are glorious in their acting in the previous years, they all have come to an end at some time or the other. And they reach a stage that when they don't get that popularity which was there, then they suffocate. Same thing with all politicians or sports personality, and this is how the material world is. And everything lasts for a very short time. And every living entity, Srila Prabhupada always says, Jivo Jivasya Jivanam. Every living entity is a cause of sustenance for the other living entities. And if every living, over and above every living entity, there is somebody or other who is more powerful than the previous one. There is no one who is the most powerful excepting Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They said that in the forest, a tiger goes looking for a hunt. But what happens is that there is a bird that keeps sitting on the back of the tiger, with the result that when it shrieks, the other animals go away. And the tiger wants to get this bird, but then the tiger can't reach this bird because it is on its back. So a bird is a very insignificant animal compared to the tiger, but still it can put a tiger into harassment. This is what the world is. So this material body is nothing but an illusion that we are all in. And as you see under it, some people might look very beautiful, some people might look very ugly. But the point is that whatever that ugly or beauty that we see, it is all on the surface of the skin, that is all. But beneath both of them, there are bones, there is blood, there is muscles, and generally people are very averse to seeing these things when they see. So what looks attractive from outside is necessarily not so in the inside. Similar is the case with whatever we see in this material world related to material objects. Somebody might think that I've got they might plan. Many people even take loans to buy big, expensive cars. But what happens? They meet with an accident, and if it happens to a new car, even a small dent or a small scratch brings a lot of uneasy feeling to the owner after having spent so much of money. This has happened. And another recent developments are like how children drive the car in the absence of their father, go and get drunk somewhere in a bar and meet with an accident, and they implicate everyone within the family. So this is a growing incident. And parents are initially very proud, oh, my children are driving cars now. But they don't realize that children are immature to understand the seriousness of this material world, and that is there in their activities that they perform also. The point is that as long as one is in this material body, everyone develops a certain amount of false pride, by which one identifies with the body, one identifies with all of one's achievements, but none of them are permanent, they are all temporary. Unlike the Lord, who has got all the qualities in him in full, we as minute part and parcels have the qualities in very small quantity, and that also not fully, and is not permanent also. Somebody might be good in singing, but then he's not able to sing forever. So for a short time of 20 years, 30 years, one might get some popularity, that's all. So activities in the material world are comprises of three modes of material nature. And the example that Srila Prabhupada often gives is that as we are like a spark of a fire, and as long as that spark is near to the fire, the spark's illumination is also seen very clearly. But the spark being very small, it has a tendency to go off very fast. And the moment it goes away from the fire, it loses its illumination also. Similarly, we being part and parcel of the Lord, as long as we are connected to the Lord, that soul in us sparks. One can see the light of the soul. Light of the soul means the illumination of the soul, the activity of the soul in the spiritual platform. But the moment one goes away from Krishna, it falls down. That is why we have a tendency to fall in this material world, and we lose our spiritual identity. And then what happens when they come to this material world? We identify with the material body only. So what happens is that all the three modes of material nature are entangling, like Srila Prabhupada gives an example of 3 and 3 into 9. 9 into 9 is equal to 81 and so forth. Now, those who are in the mode of passion, generally they try to get some knowledge of the Lord. They become jnanis. When they become jnanis, they become speculative in nature and try to read many, many books which may not be even relevant, and try to get a lot of knowledge. And in the process of gaining this knowledge, what happens is that they also tend to become speculative thinkers and try to argue, and then they lose their identity also. This position, what we see here in this material world, is not only on the earthly planet, but also is on to all the heavenly planets and the hellish planets, all the way from Brahma Loka to all the way down to the Patala Loka. This is a phenomenon that exists. Another example is even the demigods. The demigods have a lot of opulences, and the life cycle is long. They are very, very happy. Like, for example, we see maybe in a place like Bangalore, there may be areas where poor community people live, but at the same time, there are opulent areas where very rich people may be living. Now, similarly, in the material world also, there are planets like Earth and the higher heavenly planets also. And the demigods, being devotees of the Lord, they are generally in the mode of goodness. But they also run into trouble because being in the mode of goodness, they think that they are all in all. So sometimes they also act in a way that by which they offend the Lord. And one example that is normally given in the Shastras is about Indra. Indra always become anxious if somebody performs a little bit of tapasya. And there are many examples in Srimad Bhagavatam as to how Indra also has offended the Lord in many ways. For example, we see when the Lord picked up the Parijata tree from the heavenly planets, when he went with Satyabhama, she was very happy with the Parijata plant that she saw. So when the Lord picked up that, the other associates of Indra, they said that, what are you doing here? Now the Lord is picking up the Parijata plant and you're just keeping quiet. So Indra started thinking that this Parijata plant belongs to me. How can the Lord take it without me, without my knowledge? So he started fighting a battle with the Lord. And it is not one, there are many examples also. Indra offended the Lord by giving heavy thunderstorms and raining Govardhan. Finally, the Lord taught him a lesson by lifting Govardhan hill with the little finger of the left hand for 7 days and 7 nights. Similarly, Indra also has offended Naranarayana Rishi, which I have discussed before. The point is that even demigods are not always free from this thinking of this false pride. And they also tend to run into trouble regularly with demons. Like here we see that there's a normal battle between good people and bad people. Similarly, on the upper planets also, there are always fights between the demigods and the demons. And when the demigods are in trouble, in fact, it is said that demons are also a necessity in this world, because when demons are present, the demigods are always on their toes. Otherwise, what happens? The demigods also become complacent. For example, like I mentioned at the beginning of the class, if we are very opulent, we might feel complacent that, oh, I'm okay, I've got everything that I want in my life. Why should I take up a spiritual life? So those who are having a higher opulence, so demigods also have these problems. So it is said that when demons are present, they are always on their toes, that the demons might attack anytime. Within demigod, there may be problems within themselves. So these are all creations by the Lord to teach all living entities some other lesson, whether it is Indra the demigod or Indragopa the smallest living entity. So the Lord himself says that Devi is Agunamai Mamamaya Duratyaya. That means this Lord says that this divine energy of mind, the illusory energy, is a very powerful energy, and it is very difficult to overcome. And it's only one who surrenders unto a Supreme Lord can become free from this three modes of material nature. And when one becomes free, then all his activities become transcendental in nature. Otherwise, they are all within the three modes of material nature. Material also, like I mentioned, every living entity has got some other superior to the other. For example, Srimad Bhagavatam mentions about Kartyavirjuna, the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, how he was more powerful than Ravana. So he defeated Ravana. But Kartyavirjuna also was defeated by none other than the Lord as Parasuram itself. So there's always some other superior living entity always in this material world to defeat those who are less powerful. And this energy is so powerful, one cannot even imagine how powerful it is. It is said that one time when during Srila Prabhupada's time, a hippie came and asked Srila Prabhupada, why you have rejected the LSD and all the pleasures of this material world to go to the spiritual world. You must go to all the places in the material world and realize the importance of these also. So he was insistent on getting an answer from Prabhupada. And Prabhupada said, yes, some say that America is not a miserable place, that America is also a miserable place. Then the hippie went on arguing that you have not experienced LSD and the pleasures that come out of this material world. Srila Prabhupada actually replied that if a living entity can reject Krishna without experiencing the pleasures from spiritual life with Krishna, there is nothing wrong in rejecting the material world without knowing what is there in the material world. The point was that unless and until one experiences the activities on spiritual life with Krishna, it is not possible to realize that there is something better than those activities in the material world. So Maya and Krishna, they are just like light and shadow. Krishna is like light and Maya is like shadow. So it is just a small reflection, like two sides of a coin. Maya is also an energy of Krishna, and just as Krishna is eternal, the Maya is also eternal. The forms might change, but it always exists in the material world. So the soul is also eternal. Maya is also an external energy of Krishna. The soul can get deluded as the soul is infinitesimal, but the Lord is infinite. So the Lord does not come into the clutches of the three modes of material nature. Just like darkness cannot overcome the sun, the Lord is not overcome by the material energy. And what we call, when sun sets, there is darkness, which is a shadow. So similarly, when the soul takes the free will of turning away from Krishna, then Maya automatically finds a place somehow to delude the soul. So we are all subordinate to Krishna. Either we become subordinate to Krishna or we become subordinate to Maya. If we become reluctant to become subordinate to Krishna, we have to become subordinate to the energy of Maya. Then there is a mention here of how the Lord is situated in everyone's heart as the super soul, and is a witness to all the activities of the living entities, and accordingly he gives resultant reactions in the subsequent lifetimes. Now here there's a mention of how Bhrigu includes Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva also as those who come under the facet of illusion. Now Brahma is also not free from the three modes of material nature, nor is Lord Shiva. Of course, Lord Shiva has got a different tattva, and he's on a higher platform. But still, there is an example in Srimad Bhagavatam how Lord Shiva got bewildered when he saw the beautiful form of Mohini Murti form of the Lord. So this is how the material world is. And here Bhrigu Muni says that all the demigods or all the rishis, they are not free from the modes of material nature. Then he says that Bhrigu says that he was also one of the offenders. So everybody has offended Lord Shiva. So he said that he was also one of the offenders. So he's including himself in this list of offenders. And we see in these slokas, each and every offender is praying to Lord Shiva, begging for forgiveness. So this thought of false ego and pride and all those things, as I mentioned, the second kind of Srimad Bhagavatam, where it mentions that the jiva has got a minute independence. So he wanted to select somehow a material body of the 84 lakhs pieces of life. So Srila Prabhupada mentioned that the living entity is desire by which he desires dreams of a golden mountain. So we are all in a dreaming stage. So sometimes in a dream we might see a golden mountain and we want to own that mountain. Now in a dream, neither the mountain exists, but nor the gold exists, nor the golden mountain exists. But when we wake up, we see that it was a dream. Similarly, a karmi, hardcore karmi materialist who identifies with the body, like Daksha, they always think of the world as mind. And the jnani, who after many births, a karmi might become a jnani. A jnani might think that I am everything. But in the lower categories, the conception of mind is very prominent, with family, my religion, my nation, etc. In the higher categories, this word I is very, very prominent. So with this, the jiva gets entangled into this material world. There was also a mention of to how the Srila Prabhupada once mentioned that one of the erstwhile prime ministers of our country had to take the body of a dog somewhere in some other country. So even if one holds the highest position as prime minister or chief minister and all, their next lifetime is not guaranteed what form of life, where, and etc. Another quote by one of the leading musicians, he said he read Mahabharata. And after reading Mahabharata, he said that Krishna was a politician. Now, Krishna is not here to do politics. We living entities are known to do politics. But Krishna is smarter than all others. Like he himself says in Bhagavad Gita, I am the smartest of all, I am the greatest of all, I am the strength of all. Krishna is the strongest of all. So if somebody is indulging in politics, then Krishna can be a much smarter politician also. Nobody can have escape from Krishna. The jnani, they think that they are as good as God and they can do wonders. So many times or many births, they go through this process of speculative knowledge. Maybe at one birth, they might become a dhyana yoga or dhyana yogi also, who might want to meditate on the 400 form of the Lord, which is also very difficult in this material world, at least in this Kali Yuga. So as long as one is a servant of these mental concoctions, one cannot be free from the disease of I and mind. So one cannot think that I'm the enjoyer, supreme enjoyer of all in all. In fact, Bhagavad Gita itself, the Lord says that He is Bhuktaram Yajna Tapada Tapasa Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. He is Ishvara, He is Purusha, He is the supreme enjoyer. And we are Prakriti, we are meant to be enjoyed by the Lord. So this materialistic ego or identification with matter is the cause of being conditioned in this material existence. This bodily conception of life is what is called avidya or ignorance. Srila Prabhupada gives a quote in Srimad Bhagavatam as to how this body is like a dead corpse flapping wings for a few minutes only. You know, if we see many birds, they flap wings and they fly very high, but they don't know that there is a more powerful bird like eagle, which is trying to kill the smaller birds. So like that, we are also thinking we are very, very powerful, but we are just like bubbles in the water. These bubbles burst, they come out of the water and burst in no time. So we are like that. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur quotes that this material world is just like a dream. Just do your business and get out from here. That is the only way. But attachment to anything that is temporary is like an illusion. And another important point is that due to our false ego, there is a tendency of trying to coming to the point of criticizing others also. Now, all living, as we see here, Daksha started finding fault with Lord Shiva because Daksha was situated on a material platform. He did not think of Shiva on a spiritual platform. So being as a materialist, he started finding fault with Lord Shiva, which happens to those who are generally in this material world, identify with their body and everything. They have a tendency to find fault with others. And then what happens is the moment one finds fault with others, they also take the karma for that. Many times, another example is that a mosquito is a very insignificant flying entity. But the mosquito thinks that I'm biting a human being and sucking his blood. And he also becomes proud that he goes and bites so many. But what happens is people bite the mosquito also. He doesn't know that he's going to be killed. So, but at least in human form of life, one can understand that we all have a destiny, we have an end. So one should plan for all these things. So the only remedy, the conclusion in this purport is that the only remedy is that we surrender to Krishna, and by which Krishna can deliver us from this material existence. We cannot deliver ourselves with our own strength. It is not at all possible. And there's also a mention that the Lord is the supreme protector, he is the supreme maintainer of all the living entities, and he is a supreme friend of all. Being a well-wisher father to all his children, the Supreme Lord is always merciful to us. He is always there to protect. The only thing that is required is that to surrender to the Lord. That is the ultimate process. And Bhagavad Gita also, the Lord concludes by saying, Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papyebhyo Mokshaishyami Ma Sucha. The Lord says, abandon all forms of religion and surrender unto me. But the only problem is we have our own identity of religion, our own definition of religion, and we speculate a lot on that. But the Lord says, you abandon all these things and surrender unto me. I will deliver you from all sinful reactions and liberate you from this material world. He is a true friend of all the living entities. He is the one who can give protection to us, to keep us out of the clutches of this material existence. And here Bhrigu Muni prays that please be kind towards us and forgive all our offenses. Because one thing is committing offenses, but the most important thing is, at least if one comes to realize that he has committed an offense, one should beg forgiveness from the person on whom he has committed. So here in these slokas, we see that Bhrigu Muni also prays, they realize that they committed a big offense on the Lord Shiva, and they paid a price for it. That is very, very important, because many times we might tend to commit offenses on other living entities or other beings, etc. But the most important is that the moment we realize that, because the Lord is situated in our heart, the moment we come out of this false pride that I'm not this body, immediately the Lord being situated in the heart facilitates us to understand, yes, that we have committed a mistake on an offense on another living entity. And he facilitates for us to go and beg forgiveness. That is the most important lesson in this verse today. The point is that if we realize that I have committed a big offense, the best thing is to go and beg forgiveness. And Lord Shiva also is a great Vaishnava. He forgives them. And then he goes back to complete the yajna. So that is how, when we commit offenses, a sincere Vaishnava also forgives for the offenses that has been committed. And then relations become normal. So Krishna is the only friend and only protector for all living entities. So with this, I conclude the class for the day. If anybody has got any questions, any comments, they can ask me for the next couple of minutes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
As you said, any mistake we had done,
Yes.
and we surrender to God and accept our mistake. So,
Yes.
do we get some benefit out of it?
Benefit? Can you complete the sentence? Do you get some benefit? Means, are you asking that we become free from that offense?
Not free. It is not possible to become free, but a source of solace and some comfort.
Now, one thing is that we might have committed an offense onto somebody, but if the other person forgives, he can also forgive you from the resultant reactions of this offense also. It depends, but generally Vaishnavas at the position of Lord Shiva and exalted personalities at that platform, they don't consider offenses when one comes and begs forgiveness. That is very important. And when one begs forgiveness, at least the Lord seated within our heart, he can also facilitate to become the living entity, to become free from the sinful reactions. Because he knows the sincerity with which we understand, we realize and beg forgiveness. It should not be an artificial this thing of going and asking, I'm sorry, but then internally we feel that what I have done is right. So the Lord knows what is in our heart. So if he speaks that, yes, we are very sincere, the Lord can even clear the offense by giving forgiveness. And we see here, we'll see in the next few chapters also, Lord is very, very merciful, but then our heart should be clean in begging forgiveness also.
Yeah, true. So the person who forgives.
Yes.
He that is possible with the knowledge of the presence of God in that person, right?
Yes.
Otherwise,
Lord is present.
otherwise
Yeah.
that forgiveness cannot be possible.
Correct. The Lord is present in his heart also, and the Lord is present in our heart also. So the Lord can facilitate. That's what I said. It is our intent that is what matters. Do we really want to ask for forgiveness, or it is externally we want to ask forgiveness so that we don't suffer, but internally we feel that what we have done is right. So it is our intent that matters, and the Lord can facilitate if we understand that our intent was clear.
Yeah, I understood, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji.
So I
Yes.
guide a person has really done a sin, who has crossed the principles of four duties what we have to follow.
Regulative
So I
principles,
can
you mean?
four principles like illicit
Yes.
liquor and
Yeah.
like other things. So I can advise him to be loyal and sincere and forgive himself in front of God. And will that help him?
Now, breaking the four regulative principle is a big impediment in one's spiritual life.
Yes.
And unless and until one becomes free from that, one cannot progress in the spiritual path. At the same time, one has to take a lot of reactions for it. So, only thing is, we have to convince the person to abstain from these sinful activities. And once that happens, then the Lord, being merciful, can always guide that living entity to a spiritual master who can guide him in spiritual path. And then he can become free from the reactions of those sinful activities, provided he does not commit again.
Yeah, that realization has come to the person.
Yes.
But now,
But
as you said,
he should stop committing the sinful activities again.
yes, that realization has come. But only thing, the consequences which he has done, that sinful activities, that person is facing it now. So
Okay.
what
Maybe the
then?
Lord, maybe the Lord wants to give him some token of reaction in this birth itself, so that he can surrender to the Lord.
Yes, Prabhuji, that I have understood. And yes, so in that way he can continue, right? The person
Yes.
can continue to be with the Lord and surrender himself to the Lord. That will help him.
Sure.
Okay.
That will help him, and he will get a spiritual master who can guide him also.
Yeah. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else? Any other questions? Okay, there are no questions, no comments. I'm taking the class as closed. Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.